Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 95. One of those things that you only get a single screen on to really check in on and see where you're at with it. When it comes to growth potential, you've got to be at the end of a race and get the experience, and then it goes, oh, by the way, here's your drivers. So, Logan Sargent, current real-life Williams F1 driver, his growth potential is a 1.43, despite only being a 78 overall. Dewitt and Pourchaire, of course, both are at 81s. Their growth potential, Dewitt is a bit lower than Pourchaire, but they're still better than Sargent. 1.56 for Dewitt, which is still considered high, but then also Pourchaire. He was, of course, in the 1.9 kind of range. He has got the potential of that driver pool, the F2 driver pool, looking to get in. And of course, he lost a lot of XP in that last race, easily a good 500. They both lost a lot of XP in the last race. If you didn't catch that one, fairly late on with us in a pretty comfortable 1-2 position. Pourchaire leading, Dewitt just behind him, well ahead and pulling away from the field behind us. Dewitt locked up and went right into the back of Pourchaire. Took Pourchaire out of the race. Dewitt was able to take a penalty, take a new wing, get back out there, recover from 14th back to 4th position by the end of the race. But that still saw us lose a lot of points to Red Bull in particular, but at least be competitive with the other teams. Our first vote change for the year, and this one almost always is car changes. So let's see what is our major regulation vote. Major technical changes. Not minor, but major. This is the first of those. We've had plenty of minor, but we've never had a major one. Oh, folks, it looks like we're in for a huge next year, just as we are reaching the front of the grid. We're going to see a massive change to next year. As you know, we may change the regulations to define Formula One's rules between seasons to make the sport fair for competitors and more engaging for fans. Something they need to do in real life for sure, is they did not get the regulations right for this era. I think, and it's not getting talked about enough, I think a lot of people are saying that they can't follow each other closely, blah, blah, blah. Last year they could follow each other closely. They can't this year. What changed in the rules? The wheels, the tires. Different profile wheel, different tire. I think the tires are causing the problem. They can't follow each other closely enough to be in DRS range with each other. But anyway, major technical regulations for 2027. In pursuit of more exciting racing, we propose significant changes to the design of the front wing to improve its performance in turbulent air. All right, yeah, hefty changes. And it's to the chassis, the front wing, the rear wing, the side pods, the underfloor, and the suspension. That is all 6 components. This is major technical changes across the board. We're looking at airflow, engine cooling, and drag reduction. High-speed quartering. So major front wing changes or complete front wing overhaul. It's a little extra chassis damage. That is definitely extra front wing. That one's extra rear wing. That's extra side pod. There's not much difference we can look for here. Extra underfloor, extra suspension. Either way, front wing's getting the major focus, but everything's getting significant focus. I think you're better off taking an extra 5% on the front wing and 5% less on the other 5. So we're going to go for the complete front wing overhaul, and we are going to stop putting upgrades into the car pretty damn soon and start researching next year's car. We're already not looking great for the current one, but I don't think we're going to get to another season in this game unless I change how we approach it and go more onto the simulation side, right up into just running races, in which case we could probably get 2 races in per episode to speed things along, especially if we change the pace of the races and run, times 8, times 16 sort of thing. We could do 3 races per episode like that. Let me know in the comments below which method you would prefer. Should I well, let's say target 3. Should I target 3 races per episode for the remainder of this season, depending on the outcome? Well, doesn't matter the outcome either way. You're looking at a massive overhaul for next year, a drastically different field oncoming. Do I stop upgrading this year's car and instantly go into research as soon as we have the feedback on this one, as soon as it unlocks? Do we go into research and speed this season up massively and see what we have for next year? There's enough time definitely to get into another season if we take that approach. Or is this our final season and we just go for the drivers and constructors that we got one of but not both of last season, and just finish the series off with this season, knowing that there's no way we're going to get into another season, or if we do, barely into another season before the release of F1 Manager 23. Let me know in the comments below which you prefer. Second of 4 third variation upgrades for the car this year, and maybe the last upgrades we're going to be doing. We've got to get into a new research period, which is still a few weeks away. So we'll definitely have a regulation vote back by that point. We could be going straight into that research or continuing to focus on this year's car. But the side pods, they're done. So we're going to be getting them onto the car here pretty soon. The first of the 4 upgrades in this wave wasn't ready for Australia, so it's going to be ready on the car here pretty soon, but these side pods will get them manufactured. Before we reach the race weekend, the front wing, the third design, is also ready to go. I emergency did a couple side pods so we could get them onto the car in time for the race weekend, and then rushed the others because it was going to take forever to get through the side pods. So the side pods are taken care of. That new chassis, the first one's already done. The second one will be done before the race weekend, so we'll have that on the car. Front wings tend to get done a lot faster and are a bit cheaper to rush. So we'll see. Might be a little late for getting the front wing on the car, but maybe not. Oh wow, the suspension design is done as well, so all 4 are complete. It's only 3 days till the race weekend, but the suspension on a rush will be done pretty quickly, so we're not going to emergency with this one. We'll have two car parts for this race weekend. Emilia Romagna, we'll have 2 for the following. With the 2 upgrades ready and 2 coming, this is how the car looks right now. That top speed is still 3rd, cornering is still 1st, DRS is still 3rd, though the acceleration has pushed from 3rd to 1st, so we've overtaken the Red Bull there. Dirty air is still 1st, and brake cooling and engine cooling remain where they were and continue to slowly slip backwards, as those 2 upgrades anyway have not boosted us in that department. In terms of the values compared to grid average, you can see how close grid average top speed wise. I mean, everybody's in the 376. We're talking about a half of a kilometer difference. It's not a 3 kilometer difference. It's not a 14 kilometer difference like we're seeing in real life this season. We're talking about I'm a quarter kilometer ahead of grid average. Our acceleration is 1/1000th of a G ahead of grid average. Everybody is right there on top of each other. We are number 1 in every category of cornering, but you can see just how close that grid average. You can see why it's time for a major change. A massive drop-off is going to make it a lot harder. Gains come a lot easier when the numbers are that low. When they're this high, the gains are minute. They're tiny, tiny gains, and that's why we're seeing everyone so close to each other right now. It is time for a regulation change. It really is. But this field, it couldn't be closer than it is. I mean, DRS difference, you can see it's not even a quarter of a kilometer an hour. The acceleration, we're number 1, and yet grid average is exactly where we're at. The dirty air cornering is somewhere where we have a little bit more of an advantage, but it's still only not even 3%. And the brake cooling, that grid average is only about 1% ahead of where we're at. You could see why the field is so close to each other. The complete front wing option, the one that I picked, the 50/70, with 50 for everything else and just that extra 5% on the front wing itself, that's what ended up getting voted for through tiebreaker. So our vote in that favor, and of course with the tiebreaker, ended up being the difference. Ferrari, Mercedes, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin were the ones who voted against. Weird to see that us in this going in the same direction of Red Bull, but unlike real life, this game is very much one where they don't vote along lines the way things happen in real life. For example, the Haas would not vote against the Ferrari here. AlphaTauri did go the same direction of Red Bull, but you could see how engine suppliers or manufacturers, that the votes always follow those. Looking at the calendar, we have 12 days till we enter the new aerodynamic testing period. That is when our next wave is going to begin, and that is following this upcoming race weekend. Therefore, I will be making that decision in between this episode and the next. So as I was just mentioning a couple minutes ago, take a moment, please drop down. I don't need to have a billion separate comments. There's probably going to be one going each direction, I would figure. Clicking like on those will certainly be sufficient. We don't need to do a full-blown poll on this one, but that's certainly a big decision to be made. Do we push forward into that next season rapidly so we can see the regulation changes, or do we focus on the here and now and try to win the championship this year? I can tell you that our two drivers are still very much an issue at this point in time with their 81s overall. Porsche, we're up to an 89 on control. He's not making hardly any mistakes. 81 accuracy, pace is 81 to 85. The braking does, I was thinking that there is or causing race incidents involved, so I figured maybe between braking and control, that's what's causing the lockups. It's one or the other. But he's getting up to an 87 average between the two. Doing still an 82 on the braking, but he's got an 88 on the control. So even he has an average of an 85 in that department. He's got accuracy of 85, so that's also helping without running wide. But the control and braking are definitely going to be his points coming up in the near future as well. So he's barely behind Porsche in this department, and yet makes triple the mistakes that Porsche makes, and Porsche still makes more than other drivers on the grid. We're 81s, and they're high 80s or low 90s, the most of them. So there's quite a few drivers at the back end of the field that make more mistakes, and we seem to be on par with them. But for whatever reason, Dewan just makes so much more. I don't know what his deal is, and why it is such an issue, and why Dewan just continually into his second year is still making rapid mistakes. Last season, Dewan, as a rookie, finished just 17th after making multiple mistakes, but Porsche picked up his first win of the year. Can we replicate that this year? He was right about a second ahead of Max Verstappen at the finish line, with Bottas also quite close, and Leclerc front four a ways ahead of the next group. We certainly had the pace last time out in Australia. Hopefully here in Italy we can have a similar kind of pace and not have Dewan do what he did a season ago on this track.
The hills of Tuscany are green to the south, but here in Imola the air is red hot. Welcome to Ferrari's turf for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. The track has been around since the 60s, but the first official Formula One race was held here in 1980. Let's see what excitement lies ahead this year. This is Imola, and it's an old school track with plenty of elevation changes and lots of corners. There's only one DRS zone here, but it follows the long straight right before Tamburello and should see plenty of action. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees.
New components on the car again for this race. I think that could have been a factor on why we did so good on the last one. We had brand new stuff, but with brand new stuff this time, that'll unlock the final engine, that'll unlock the final ERS system, gearbox. There's still one more. So there's still one more in the pool that we have not vetted and gotten out there and bedded it in. So we'll need to do that probably next race. But after that, we'll be ready to latch onto that penalty if and when we have a mistake come in Q1 on any upcoming races. As for the confidence, we got to 70% with Pourchaire, hoping to improve on that here. And then Doohan, we got to 64%, also hoping to improve. Doohan, I'm more nervous about where we went with his setup. I'm expecting Pourchaire's to take a very strong turn in the right direction, mid 80s or better. And as we're going to go head out on track for our one and only run here in Q1, one thing to watch out for is that Russell and Verstappen. Verstappen right on the heels of Russell. Will that impact? Well, they're already first and second. One thing to watch out for on this track is there's a lot more straightaway than you get some of the other tracks, which means the pace difference. Yes, we are second quickest, but the entire field is absurdly close. So without much of a cornering advantage, it's going to start then applying to the driver and reaction times and cornering ability themselves, as this track is less car dependent, more driver dependent. And our two drivers really aren't great, but they are good enough for second and third here. The car's still quick, but it's a really close field, the entire field within a second. We got things right with Doohan, though. 91% for him, and actually Pourchaire right where I thought he would be. 85% or better. 89 to be exact. And in Q2, we've gone out there. No mistakes so far. It looks like we get through the lap and actually are P1, P2 on this one. So putting in the fastest time. Awfully close. Top end of the grid, even all the way down to Russell. Norris in the Alpine. Alpine looking pretty quick this race weekend. Ferrari a little bit more off the pace, and Sergio Perez actually is out in Q2. We'll start outside of the top 10. Pushing for that banker lap. Multiple cars come out in front of us, including both Mercedes. It affected Pourchaire more than Doohan, but both of them a little bit on the slow side. This is looking very much like last race, where we were P3 and P8 by the time we went out for our final run, and here we are in exactly the same position, P4 and P8. So actually even just a little bit worse as we set up for our final run, but of course we'll have the advantage on that final run. Pourchaire has been a little bit better than Doohan all race weekend. We'll see if that carries over here in this final run. He was held up more on the first run, so only P8 right now, but he could and should improve upon that here, as long as they don't make any mistakes. We are riding on board with Pourchaire as he goes through the laps. Go ahead and speed it up a little bit. And what can they do here? It's green for Pourchaire in Sector 1, but not purple. Doohan also goes green in Sector 1. Green in Sector 2. Ricardo goes top of the timesheets. So you are getting drivers that are improving their times. We are green in each of the first two sectors. Ricardo. Verstappen goes top. So we are finding drivers that are improving their times. We're currently P6, P10. Pourchaire goes P2. We are behind Verstappen. Verstappen is the quickest. Doohan, meanwhile, approaching the finish line. Green in those first two sectors. He's all the way down to P8. But he is going to go pole without a single purple sector. Verstappen was purple in Sector 2, but he was slow in the first sector, and we do somehow get just enough. It's going to be a first row and second row start with Pourchaire. And this was not as quick as what we had in Q2. Pourchaire was faster and just misses pole. Just misses pole. That is so close between second and third. And really, 10th. Even 10th is 4/10 down on the leader. That's it.
The grid is packed and there's electricity in the air. But there's no surprises in that. It's race day.
Williams made short work of the qualifying session here and have been rewarded with strong grid positions to start the race. McLaren did well during qualifying. They maximized their potential and are in a good position for the race today. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
And seeing it all come together is sure to be a thrill. An exciting race ahead for us here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
With low tire deg, it's a clear one-stop strategy here in Imola, but also getting clean air, pitting alone, so we're not losing 6-7 seconds in pit stops because of our pit box location is really important. So we're looking to extend by 3 and 4 laps for the two drivers, with Porsche extending a little bit further as he's a little better on tire wear than Jack Doohan, and that's going to give us extra life on those hards for that final run and allow us to make a little more push at the end. Hopefully those tires, those mediums, hang on a little bit, and actually theoretically it's supposed to be faster going this way anyway, and if that's the case, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. I don't think we're going to be losing too much time on those extra 3-4 laps, and hopefully get into those pit boxes by ourselves.
We have beautiful blue skies overhead as the drivers line up on the grid. Looking now at the Williams. P1 today. Let's see if they can take advantage of that position. And looking at the second Williams car. They've managed a third place start for this race, but can they turn it into a win? Will their hard work pay off today? All eyes are on the race here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Doohan from P1. And you've got Porsche from P3. Porsche looks like he's already challenging Verstappen, maybe? No, he's being challenged by Ricciardo, actually. Looks like Doohan's going to just hang on ahead of Verstappen. And does. Let's go ahead and get on board here. Porsche is now comfortably into P3. We've pulled out to 0.6 of a second over Ricciardo already. If we can open up a little bit of a gap here over him, wouldn't that be something if these front three can drive away? I wouldn't care what position Verstappen was in if we could do that. We're out to 0.7. Let's keep pushing then for a little bit longer and see if that can potentially happen. Sector 2, we've got a yellow. Somebody ran wide very briefly there.
I think we've had a car
Magnussen runs wide. Didn't impact him as he's 12th, and Porsche is challenging Verstappen. And again, we're at that 0.7 over Ricciardo. Meanwhile, Doohan pulls away a bit over Verstappen and Porsche. DRS is enabled. We're 0.8 ahead, but we've also just managed to get on by Verstappen. Can we take this and pull away a bit? Off. Oh, big lockup from Doohan. From Doohan, the race leader, who was driving comfortably, not Porsche. Oh, he's going to go all the way down to last before he rejoins. 10 fingers. I only have 2. Only 2 of these placed, in the middle that I would like to show Jack Doohan after his 1 billionth mistake as a Williams F1 driver. Last place, 4 seconds behind. 1.6 to Leclerc, though. So, at least there's that. McLaren, by the way, is down currently P8, P10. Ferrari, Perez still outside of the top 10, but Leclerc, of course, in third. Verstappen is up there with Russell. I like that the Alpine is contending this weekend, as they are not.
And a new position just gained by
Speaking of
Williams.
1.9, we were at 1.9, now 2.3 when it comes to the trailing
Red Bull
second group. And it looks like we just got past him as well. Yes, past both of the Haas.
That's a stonking now.
3.3 now, 3.4 to Ricciardo. So that chasing group is getting further and further back of Porsche and Verstappen. So at least those two are pulling away. Thought everybody was on the mediums, and no, there's cars on the hards, and that is the two-stop strategy of soft, medium, medium, which you don't have those available. But Sainz, Stroll, and Guan Yu Zhou opting for the alternative strategy. We are just inside 14 seconds behind, by the way, here with Jack Doohan. So everybody, if you pit at the front, you go to the back. pulled out, but can't get upside. Under braking, though, we can. Pourchaire is overtaken Verstappen, meanwhile. And we are around Giovinazzi, the second Aston Martin, and already contending with Schumacher. And there is that whole one passes the other, but the guy at the front of the train looks like he's about to lose 2 spots. Pourchaire and Verstappen are 5 seconds ahead now of Leclerc. That group of 4 cars is almost 5 seconds ahead of Gasly. And then the third train is now led by Doohan. Doohan is definitely on an alternative strategy. Pourchaire is going to be kind of in a cruise mode here for a while. We got 2 seconds to go to catch the guys ahead, and I want to keep pushing until we get up to them. Once we get into that train, we are going to back off, but we've got to get up there. 1.0. Still want to pit after everybody else if possible, but it's going to be probably a lap earlier or so. We still want clean air.
New position, just gained by Williams.
Everybody else is going to be pitting in the next lap or 2, so keep that in mind. Okay, balanced.
Increase
battery.
lifting code.
We're not going to try to gain any more positions right now. We did drag the AlphaTauris up with us, but Giovinazzi right on the edge may have gotten dropped at the end of that. Our tire wear is really hurting us as we fall back out of DRS range. And Ricciardo, Leclerc, Russell all into the pits. I would pit here with Doohan, but we're just going to have to go aggressive and pit on the next lap with him. He'll come out where he comes out. So change of strategy. Change of strategy. He is going to attack this lap.
Bottas is pitted. So Schumacher has pitted.
Wow, that's a lot of cars in the pits. That's a lot. There's definitely going to be more on this lap, but Doohan doesn't have a choice. He's going to have to. We've gone so deep. He's really dropping pace right here. Those on that soft medium are going to lose a lot of pace. You could probably count those 3 out as finishing in the last 3 positions. Verstappen and Norris into the pits. Doohan into the pits. He's got clean air. He has got clean air. Lucky. And Leclerc's already pit. So Doohan. That's good. Stroll just behind us. He pit a while ago. So his benefit has already been lost, and he's going to have to pit again while we are done. So don't worry about Stroll. Joe and Bottas are with them. Ricciardo has already pit. Verstappen has already pit. We're looking at 6 cars left that are still out there, all on the hards besides Pourchaire. So Pourchaire is going to be carrying a pretty healthy advantage here. Those other guys are going to be out here a while yet. They're going to be slow for a while yet. And then on their last stop, they're going to come back out in traffic. They get caught behind guys and have a hard time coming through. So where we come out compared to Verstappen is what's going to be important with Pourchaire. As Doohan gets past Leclerc with help of DRS. Yellow in sector 1. Somebody ran wide. Not Doohan. That's all that matters, I suppose.
That sounds like someone's gone
It's
wide
Stroll.
there.
It's Stroll, so his close challenge could drop him off. Doohan hopefully can chase down Russell now. Already challenging and getting up beside and past. That's good. The overtake very, very quick. 1.8 behind Verstappen. All we need to do is get up on him.
Just gained by
Neutral.
Williams.
Now we are at 94%. He's at 92. So we're only 2% better off, but we got clean air. That was important. and those 4 guys are all going to pit at some point and be well behind his Sonoda. It's falling back, and there you go. Porsche and Verstappen off to the races for a 1-2, and you know, as long as there's no mistakes involved, we can comfortably take that at the end. So back to focusing on doing for the foreseeable future. He's got Leclerc behind him, Russell ahead, and have we closed up on Russell? It looks like we have. The 3 teams going head-to-head. Sainz, the head McLaren, is only 2.7 ahead of that, but some of these guys are definitely on different strategies, as Verstappen and Porsche are already swapping positions with each other. Let's now check in on that alternative strategy section. So 1, 2, 3, 4 guys all getting out of the way, but then Tsunoda's going to get out of the way. Sainz has to pit again. So 2 more guys in between getting out of the way. So you got the 2 Alpines, and then this trio. And I no longer worry about doing on what he's capable of when it comes to these guys. Porsche, Verstappen have caught those front guys. He has a chance to actually drive away from them if we change our focus here now to what's going on in this area. Yes, we have caught Albon and Perez. We've got a chance to ditch these guys. On an alternative strategy, still needing to pit. Challenging him, up beside him, and past him.
Low fuel, so be mindful of that.
Yes, doing is actually improving. He's at 0.6 now. And there you go, battery's empty. So maybe we should kind of take our position for a moment and just hold it. Verstappen starting to challenge. We can get into second. The other is going to be easy because of DRS, but being in third, I've said even earlier this race, this is the hardest position to be in as we head towards P2 now, ahead of Gasly. And that's the race lead. We are ahead of Ocon. We are ahead of Ocon. Neutral. Can we drive away from Ocon now? He's on 44%. Perez is more than a sec. Oh, that's leader. That's leader. There we go. Doohan is caught Alpine, so he's good there. Let's go ahead. As Gasly and Perez and Albon all go into the pits, but again, all you need is a gap.
Fastest lap.
All you need is a gap. Fastest lap. Doing up to P6. Go back to balance. And a 0.3 on that deficit. Ricardo and Norris, are either of them going to pit? No. Ocon's the last one. Ocon is the last one to pit. Doing just 8 seconds behind, we definitely recovered some ground. We were 14 back earlier. And at this point, he's at 73%. Porsche's at 74%. So Porsche's done the smart move to pull away from Verstappen. But Doohan has managed things pretty well. They're both at negative 0.3. Russell definitely challenging us, and Ocon has pit. So we have a 2.7 second advantage over Porsche over Verstappen, that is. Leclerc holding at 1.8. He's got about the same pace as the Alpines. It'd be really nice if you can't catch them. Gap went out a little bit, turning the engine down. But we got 0.2 back there pretty quick. We're going to be really close on him. We've got 2 corners left here. Double left-hander, and then pit straight. Will we have enough pace advantage to do something? We're a 10th behind. But again, on exit, that opens up a little bit to over 0.2. Can't find an opening. We're faster, but we're not really progressing. We're not pushing. Russell with the issue. Russell with an issue has fallen back. Runs wide. And Leclerc's at 1.2, by the way. Oh, we finally get up beside Ricciardo. Can we get the job done? We don't have much battery, but... Leclerc's getting within a second, so that train's about to get longer. Oh, Pourchaire with a lockup, and he's falling to P2. So from 2.7 ahead to side by side with Verstappen. Good thing we didn't collide with him.
Copy that.
From, gosh, we've got this. We're in first, and we're into third. And just like that, we're back into, well, we're not quite there yet. First and third very much still in the cards, though. Chair has re-overtaken Verstappen, DRS alone, getting the job done. We now have that positive, so we have some spare fuel for the last couple of laps. Don't have the battery charged yet, but we've got Doohan's battery charged, and we've got some spare fuel. We've got the ability to push when necessary, but again, this is not a given. Pushing does not automatically mean you're going to get ahead. It can take multiple laps, so we don't want to wait till the final lap with Doohan. Pourchaire, meanwhile, though, either is holding off or is going to re-overtake, and he drops to P2 again. So let's go ahead and charge his battery. So he's got the other component he needs.
Red Bull moved up.
Looking like a good time to maybe make a move here. There's, oh, you had an opening to get up beside him. Get up beside Ricciardo. And then chose not to take it. Again, we ease off. You keep hearing the lift in the engine as there's nowhere to go. They swap places, but we've got nowhere to go. We get up beside Norris. We get up beside Norris. That was the one we needed. We've already got our sights set on Ricciardo, and we get the double overtake done. Got just a little bit of spare fuel to defend, and we certainly have more pace, and driving aggressively right now seems to be working as we've pulled away to 0.5. We are much faster than Ricciardo is, but he's going to have DRS and we won't. And here he comes. We'll definitely hold him off this lap that far ahead, but...
The final lap, you're opening your final lap.
Okay, defend is on. Verstappen gets so close down the straight. Gets within 1/10, but he was successfully held off. Push, push, push.
Okay, reduce lift and coast.
Defend.
Copy.
And we get back ahead. We get back ahead, but we don't have much that we can do here. Oh yeah, that was a nice opening right there. Half a second ahead of Ricciardo. Meanwhile, Pourchaire, he's half a second ahead of Verstappen.
Copy.
And he can keep right on pushing. In fact, he can deploy now all the way to the end. He's got a couple corners to go. He's got a couple corners to go. Riding on board with Pourchaire as he comes around the final corner. 0.6 ahead. Pourchaire will hang on. He's going to take the victory. Verstappen takes second, and Doohan. It's green. It's attack. And it's 2 drivers on the podium.
That's the flag.
After 2 mistakes on the day. Doohan's mistake, very costly, goes straight to the back of the grid. He goes from first to last, and he goes from last to third. Pourchaire was comfortably P1, but Verstappen was 2.7 seconds behind. He wasn't that far back when Pourchaire ran wide. And he came out side by side with Verstappen. Easily could have turned into a collision. We've seen that happen so many times. Now, the top 7. Massive gap over everybody else. Perez just never able to get up there with them. Bottas does get 8th, so McLaren got some points today, but it was very much not a dominant McLaren day. So we are going to have a huge amount of points, and that's going to put McLaren behind us in the championship, and we're down to, a top 3. But the Ferraris were definitely competitive and there and pick up points. Red Bull as well, but we definitely got the most points today. We get the win. We get fastest lap. We get 3rd place. And you can see, Verstappen only gets 2 points over Doohan. So 24 clear of what he did. 18 clear of what Red Bull did as a team. Ferrari, meanwhile, Leclerc could not get past the Alpines. So he only gets 8 points. That gives us 36 over them. Huge day. Huge day. Just the 4th round of the championship, but we had a difficult first 3 rounds. We had a difficult 4th round, but we made it work. Drivers. Russell leads. Porsche jumps to P2. Leclerc just behind in P3. Verstappen, and then Doohan coming along. In the constructors, after that huge day, we jump from 4th to 2nd. Just 17 behind Red Bull. 101 for them. 84 for us. 69 for Ferrari. And McLaren still hanging around with 60. Alpine, 45. Big day for them, but they're very much 5th wheel. I'm shocked that Mercedes really is just 6th best. Alfa Romeo, they scored no points today. Alfa Romeo, Alfa Tauri, Aston Martin, Haas have yet to score any points this season. And that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.